The ATEM Mini is a great product for $300 for any church to start live streaming on a tight budget. But the one disadvantage to it is it's only HDMI in, and HDMI can only go but so long. So in this video, I'm going to show you an alternative of how I would connect this if I wanted to have a camera further than 20 feet away. So let's go. Hey folks, this is AJ, the CEO. If this is your first time stopping by the channel, thanks for stopping by. And in this channel, we focus on tips, training, strategies, reviews, and builds to help modernize your media ministry. So if you're new here, consider subscribing. So it's obvious that I really like the ATEM Mini. Some of my new clients in other churches that I'm talking to, I am recommending this to high heaven just because of its entry level and all of the features that come with it, and it can open the door to so many things. Now again, I'm not talking about a church that has 15, 20 cameras and all this other stuff. This is entry level. And or even if it's a big church and the budget is tight, this will open the door to so many things, from live streaming to multi-camera setups, picture-in-picture, all this other stuff. Now, for example, say that you are using this in the back of your church where you probably can see everything that's going on the front of the pulpit, and you have one camera that happens to be beside you. So you get in the back of everybody's head, but the HDMI out is going out to your projectors, your TVs, or whatever, and that's how they can see everything. But what about if you wanted to add a camera to the front of the church and there's no way for you to connect it because it's way further than 20 feet? What I would recommend is the same way I've talked about these before, are HDMI converters. Now these happen to be SDI converters because I had these on hand, and this will let you go up to around 300 feet with cable. So you would just have this one would be HDMI to SDI. This would go on the end of your camera if you're using just a regular HDMI camera. Plugs in right here, HDMI cable runs out, comes back in here, and then it converts it back to HDMI, and this is what plugs into the back of the ATEM. Now honestly, these are very, very cheap in comparison. These are around $50 each, $55 each, depends where you get them from. You can use a regular USB cable to plug these in, so a phone charger will work, or you can pay, I think, an additional $10 and it'll come with a charger with it. But it's very, very easy how to do this. And what I'm gonna do is hook up another camera this way, and I'm gonna try and put it as far away as I can. I don't have a 100-foot cable here. I got two 15-foot, so around 30 feet. So let's go ahead and hook this up. Really simple, and just show you how this will work. All right, so the very first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get our HDMI to SDI. Oh, wrong one. SDI to HDMI. This is the one that's going to come out and plug into our ATEM. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, there you go. Really straightforward. Now I have a power adapter here that I'm going to plug in for this, and then we're going to take the other camera and hook this up, and we'll see if we can put it a little bit away from here. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so we got everything hooked up. Really simple. Now again, I don't have a 100-foot SDI cable with me. The last one I actually had, I installed at my church. So I do have, however, excuse my shoes and everything all over the place, I just got this 15-foot here, and actually not 15-foot, this is more like a 6-foot, but works the exact same way, and I have it hooked up to my DSLR. So all we got to do is cut over here. And there you go. And there you can see what I normally shoot with, and then there's a DSLR right there. So you can imagine the same type of setup if you had this, say, at your church in the front of the sanctuary. Now, I'm trying to say, I wouldn't recommend, well, I was gonna say I wouldn't recommend this if you were using the stationary camera, but how I would see this working is if you had another HDMI camera, camcorder somewhere in the front that's being manned, or it's a stationary and you know it's not going to move, that will work. If it's a manned camera, that will work as well too, because you have somebody operating, but at least it'll get the signal all the way back. And getting these adapters and cable is significantly cheaper than getting the HDMI, a wireless connection to go from here all the way back to your ATEM or wherever your stuff is. You could also have this hooked up into a PTZ camera that's like in the front of the church, but obviously you would have another controller to control the camera, but that is another way that you can do this. So for example, when I get back to my church, again, we have 6 cameras, so this wouldn't really work, but what I want to do is I will hook this up into the ATEM Mini with our PTZ camera that's at the front of the church, that's around the 50-foot high ceilings that have the SDI cables running. What I'll do is put this adapter on that so you can see how it actually works. I mean, it will work the exact same way, but at least this gives you an option that if you start off with the ATEM Mini with just one camera and then a computer and you're adding it, this allows you to add another camera in the setup. Because a lot of churches I've talked about, yeah, it's great that you're doing the sermon and you're getting the back of everybody's heads, but sometimes you want to have a camera so when you have guests, you can actually see their face and you can put them on the screen. Or if there's interaction, if you have anybody coming down the aisle or something like that, makes it a good way. And especially if you're doing this using the ATEM Mini for like doing weddings and stuff like that, this makes this easier too, to where you can set up a stationary camera, run the cables here, and now you can have people coming down the aisle, get the bridesmaids, the groom, the bride, and all that other stuff like that. So it makes it really easy. So that's what I would use if I was going to extend it. Now, yes, you could use a cheaper option would be HDMI over Cat6 extenders. When I get some of those back in, I will test that with this as well too. But I had access to these SDI converters, which honestly, because of reliability and the length that it can go, if it's your option, I would always recommend going to SDI converters instead of Ethernet. But if it's a cost is an issue, Ethernet would always work. But stand by for the next video that I do where I actually take this to my church and I hook this up to a camera that's over around like 175 feet away, just to give you some more proof how robust this actual device is and give you alternate ways to connect other devices to the ATEM Mini. So if you like this type of content, I appreciate a like, consider subscribing, and hit that bell. That way you get notified when we come out with other videos to help modernize your media ministry. This is AJ. We'll see you on the next video. Later.